Have you been able to keep tabs on what's happening there? Can you bring us an update?
We just watched the speaker gavel out with a whole lot of anger, Kelly. Here's the state of play. Here's
MSNBC sucks.
Hey, how are you?
MSNBC sucks.
Talk to you for a second.
MSNBC sucks.
You can see.
Okay.
You can see the frustration.
Sometimes this happens, and we understand that that can happen. And while we love free speech, we're going to keep control here. So, Ryan.
Welcome. Introduce yourself. Go ahead.
My name's Alex Stein. I'm considered one of the sexiest men in conservative politics. And one thing I want to say, a lot of people are going to hear my testimony and you're going to say you're anti-LGBTQ. I want to say that's impossible because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. So obviously I have a lot of gay pride. But, you know, a lot of conservatives like yourself, you want to outlaw transgenders in women's sports. I disagree. I like transgenders in women's sports because you can gamble on them and win money. You know, I won so much money on Leah Thomas's propeller in that pool. I almost turned draft kings into draft queens. And, you know, I actually like transgenders in the military, too, because, first of all, transgenders are some of the meanest people on planet Earth, so they'd make a good soldier, don't you think? And then, you know, second of all, transgenders love to do mass shootings. So, you know, that's perfect for a military veteran. And then on top of that, the suicide rate is incredibly high among transgender people, so we could just use them like the Taliban has suicide bombers. Maybe you guys can actually, you know, if you commit suicide, actually help us in the battlefield. So that would be good. So I think we need transgenders in the military and women's sports. Now, when we come to the bathroom bill, though, this is an asymmetrical problem because, first of all, no dude cares if, like, a bisexual woman comes in there and tries to use, like, a pee funnel. You know, if some lady boy comes in there, some, you know, stud comes in there, wants to pee in the urinal. No guy's going to be threatened by, you know, a trans woman. But we don't want these gargoyles in a dress, you know, some chick with a dick coming in there and trying to pee or poop next to my girlfriend because that's disgusting. And, well, I was going to say something. Listen, I have my First Amendment right. Let me just speak. So we're sick of these transgenders trying to invade women's personal spaces. These people have autogynephilia. They're sexual perverts, and they actually get satisfaction from going there and looking under a stall. So
how was that blonde guy sitting next to him the whole time not cracking a smile at all? What? Yo, what's up, guys? How we doing? Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. Holy crap is right, Chris Cheese. Look at Johnny Rankin, Y2 Joe, Quest Fanning, Caleb Vanderfelts. It's the whole crew hanging out with us this morning on the Wake Up America show. It's nice to see all of our friends, T-Mill22 included, Quest Fanning. How's everybody doing today? If you click the like button, good morning. Rise in freedom. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, broadcasting live from the heart of the Republic, Jefferson City, Missouri, where liberty lives, free speech flourishes, and ESG scores get lit on fire just for the warmth of it. I'm your host, AP, freedom fighter, coffee drinker, former presidential candidate, and your daily dose of caffeine-fueled common sense in a clown world gone mad. And this morning, it's a good one. Today's show is titled The War on Woke Banks. Conservatives Strike Back. It's about time. Like any good sequel, it comes with a bigger budget, sharper satire, and way more lasers on today's show. Yes, the White House is preparing an executive order to punish banks that discriminate against conservatives. Thank you. That's right. The tide is turning. This is a big one. The same financial institutions that were canceling accounts faster than Bud Light canceled their customer base, they're finally getting called out. So grab your founding flavors brewed coffee. Today's show is going to be a full-blown Death Star trench run against financial tyranny. So let's paint the picture, okay? So for years now, we've seen banks refuse service to gun stores, Christian nonprofits, Trump donors, conservative media. I saw Alan Dershowitz was refused service in New York City the other day, or it was just yesterday. But not, of course, we don't have to worry about the cancellation of fentanyl fronts or CCP-backed shell companies. No, those guys get express service. They get bottles of water. But if you host a podcast with the word liberty in it, you're going to get flagged like a Somali pirate ship and YouTube demonetization. That's why we are on Rumble first. People like myself, canceled, voice suppressed on damn near every platform. And make no bones about it, this business, we would be suffering more if Joe Biden had been elected. They had the noose out. The jig was up. The noose was out. They finally found me. You're a renegade who had it made. I'm a wanted man. Oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the dams. The jig is up. The noose is out. All right. I can't do that. All right. So we've seen what's happened to people who have views like ourselves. We've seen how we've been debanked. We've seen how they have taken away our ability to speak, to earn money, deplatforming. But debanking has got to be the worst of all of the treatment. Imagine not being able to use a bank to conduct transactions. This has happened to people on our side of the aisle. Biden's White House, not Biden's White House. Biden's White House was for it. It's Donald Trump's White House that actually is drafting the executive order to tell banks to stop political discrimination by financial institutions. No more hiding behind the corporate fig leaf of reputational risk. So this could be a huge moment in the free speech economy because it means that the culture war is no longer online. It's now in the real world. And it's about time that conservatives stop playing defense with PayPal and with Chase, and we start playing offense against these institutions that are intricately tied to our government. Let's talk about today's interstellar guest lineup. 7:30 a.m. Central, my buddy Remzo Martinez joins the show to break down what the heck is happening in Las Vegas. This is an interesting story. City never sleeps. Well, apparently the waiters can't afford to eat. Tipped workers in Vegas are losing more than half their income, and Trump's new proposal to eliminate taxes on tips has the service industry buzzing. So we're going to break down Trump's big, beautiful bill, why it's brilliant, and whether it can survive the IRS Death Star. Whoopsie. Returning champion Camellia Peterson stops by to talk about adult daycare at Microsoft. This has been a big meme shared around. And ladies, don't get mad. But this is about a meme that's been going around that says that many of these office worker jobs are just adult daycare for women. So I bring Camellia on to stand up for the ladies. So stand up for those ladies, and she will at 8 a.m. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about not only the viral videos where like women are taking like 17 snack breaks at their like overly paid tech jobs, but we're also going to talk about a new article from the Wall Street Journal on conservative women who are having it all: career, family, faith, purpose, and how they're winning in every category that actually matters. Except perhaps for one. So find out what that is this morning when Camellia joins us less than an hour from now on the Wake Up America show. We got so much good stuff for you today. At 8:30 a.m., we're going to welcome Katya Sedgwick on the Wake Up America show for her very first appearance. She's a new voice on the show. She's a Jewish conservative with a sharp tongue and a sharper mind. She's calling out NYC's rising star leftist Zoran Mamdani. It's a guy running for mayor while cozying up to many of the most radical voices in American and international politics. We're going to talk about her rebuttal to a New York Times puff piece on Zoran, and also how we're going to be talking a little bit about that Israel boycott situation. So make sure that you don't miss that. So loaded show, guys. Like Tucker Carlson after a Red Bull and Rogue AI. Speaking of Zoran Mamdani, apparently Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, has become something of a surrogate of the campaign. Take a listen.
You mentioned Mamdani, and you are in New York, sort of speaking in behalf of him to a certain extent. I wonder, though, often we see this, and this is a local election. New York does not operate in a vacuum. It competes with other cities. And so this idea of somehow raising taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, who, by the way, I would point out, pay roughly 15% of their income right now between city and state, raising taxes on them will simply drive them away. Shouldn't the focus of a mayor be on delivering services to the constituents of the city? city and doing that by raising the most revenue as possible without chasing businesses and the high-income taxpayers out of the city, because they can go to Austin, they can go to Dallas, they can go to Atlanta, they can go to Nashville. This is your issue. It's a national issue, not a local issue.
The issue is affordability. Do you know how many working families are chased out of New York City every day because they can't afford housing, they can't afford groceries, they can't afford child care? What Zoran is saying is, I want people to be able to afford to live in New York City. That's what keeps it a vibrant city. That's what makes people want to live
Nobody
here.
disagrees with that, Senator, but raising taxes in order to do it?
Oh,
why is that
goodness.
the answer?
Oh, dear. Are you worried that billionaires are going to go hungry?
No, I'm worried that they're going to leave and spend their money elsewhere.
You know, they've threatened to do that over and over and over.
And they have. They've left.
But here's the thing.
And Goldman Sachs, when they create new jobs, they do it in Dallas. And Blackstone won't build a new headquarters. They go on and on.
You want to have a workable city. You want to have a city that's vibrant. You want to have a city where the streets are full, where there are things for sale 24 hours a day. Then you need people who can live here and work here.
Well, we've got that right now, by the way. I would point out New York is thriving. So now it's doing pretty well, actually.
I'm glad you think they're doing well, because a lot of people are struggling to pay for housing. A lot of people are struggling to pay for groceries. And I got to tell you, mamas and daddies who are facing $25,000 a year to pay for child care.
Those are national issues. I mean, I know they are the local state, but you can't.
New York City.
Yes, but if you deal with them in that way, by what is always your backup, just tax them more, they will leave.
No.
Damn, that's nice to see her getting roasted. Quest Fanning, we appreciate you, brother, for helping unlock that bonus content. Yeah, before we get the real big show started, did want to remind you about that. Rumble rants made during the show, and purchases made at forlibertyshop.com at the Griff Shop this morning will help to unlock that bonus content. Quest got us started. Who are these wounded men of which you speak? Thanks for the $2. That's very kind of you, sir. So, and because we're so guest heavy today on the Wake Up America show, guys, I may not have time to pause and remind you as often. So hear me now. If we raise $75 in Rumble Rants, we unlock today's 5-minute mini documentary. But if we don't hit the goal, it disappears forever into the memory hole like Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton hard drive. So don't let it happen. And if we hit $100 today, you get to vote on today's Defense Against the Dark Arts class, and your options are magical. The Envy Curse, number 1, how leftist jealousy poisons merit and ambition, turning dreams into demands and freedom into resentment. The second class that you can choose from is the Obedience Hex, a deep dive into bureaucracies and how they conjure fear to force compliance, and how liberty-minded folks can resist with courage and reason. Guys, I know I say it a lot, but now more than ever, hit that like button. Support us at thegriffshop.com. Stay tuned all the way through the show. We are the most active, we are the scrappiest Liberty show and network in the country. We're building a movement, not just an audience. So buckle up. The Empire's striking back. And Liberty is loading up its starfighter. Set your S-foils to stun. Let's roll. We're going to be going headline through Trump's new takedown of woke banking. Yeah. Under President Trump, the White House is about to punish banks who politically discriminate against conservative Americans. And it's not just talk. I mean, we're already up to our elbows in executive orders, so what's one more, right? So here's the scoop from the Wall Street Journal and Reuters. The Trump administration has drafted an executive order that directs regulators to penalize banks that drop clients for political reasons. So this includes potential fines, consent decrees, and referrals to the Department of Justice. Yes. If they find biased debanking, they're going to do something about it. And this order is probably going to get signed this week. Again, that's a scoop from the Wall Street Journal and Reuters. So you're hearing it here like fresh and hot off of the presses. So why is there so much urgency on this? Because for years, conservative business owners, right, coffee shops, gun stores especially, cryptocurrency platforms, traditional nonprofits, I was working at a nonprofit in Washington, D.C. during the Obama years when they were cracking down on the Tea Party institutions. I was working for FreedomWorks at the time. They caused so much chaos, the federal government stepping in, using the IRS as a weapon against conservative institutions. These kinds of things have been going on for years. And this is why we have had to build a parallel economy. This is why you're hearing my voice. If you're on rumble.com right now, I want to give it up to my rumblers and to my Xers to some extent, those who are still on, formerly known as Twitter. Right, this X became a parallel economy. Rumble is the parallel economy in many more ways, I think, than even X. And I like both platforms for different reasons. But frankly, if Elon Musk hadn't bought X, if Trump hadn't won, if Rumble had not been created, conservatives would be in a lot of trouble. Libertarians would be in a lot of trouble. Libertarians who are actually threats to the regime, not the ones who are somehow like the regime libertarians. But the ones who are actual threats to the machine and to the deep state, we would be in trouble. We would be in deep stuff. You would not be hearing this voice right now. I probably would have just said, I literally have no way to earn money without, to speak my speech, I pray you, trippingly on the tongue. If a certain series of events had not occurred, major, massive, global, earth-shattering events had to happen in order for me to be able to just have this conversation with you right now on Rumble or on X. Bruce Burtwhistle, Zed the Head, Y2 Joe, Cecilia H, Quest Fanning. Where would we be without the Wake Up America show and the For Liberty Network? Think about how our lives would be less enriched. Not to say that I'm like some great enriching agent, but I mean, maybe you like Culturama and Daniela Pensac, or maybe you're a really big fan of the boys over at Liberty Tonight, or maybe Freedom Arcade, hanging out with us playing video games on Friday night, as you think. The point is that what do they have to be afraid of? Our speech? Well, guess what? Actually, they have a lot to be afraid of with my speech. And that's why they wanted to shut it down. And they hate us so much that not only do they want us dead, but worse, they want us debanked. I'd rather be dead than debanked. No, I think it's hard to say. Quest says, plenty of hardworking friends have been unable to live here, so they moved from New York City. Instead, we're supposed to subsidize lazy non-workers to stay here. They get that privilege, but not hard workers. Thank you, Quest. We appreciate that. That's $7 towards the $75 to $100 goal. I have to write that down. 7 towards 75, 100, and then the 100's the magic one. The ding, 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 ding. This content goals. There we go. It has been done, it has been written, and it has been pinned. There we go. There's a lot of buttons I pushed during this show. Pull up that bullet point. There it is. So here's the scoop. The Trump administration has got an executive order. They're going to direct regulators to penalize banks that drop clients for political reasons. Good. That includes potential fines, consent decrees, and referrals to the Justice Department. They're going to review whether banks violate the Equal Credit Opportunity Act or antitrust laws. If they find biased debanking, they're going to do something about it, and the order may get signed this week. So why the urgency? Because if you can't bank, you can't do business. Simple as that. The grift shop, I can't do my grifting. If I can't bank, I can't accept your monthly subscriptions. If I can't bank, I can't sell you Founding Flavors coffee. If I can't bank, I can't do anything that I'm doing right now. All of it rests on top of the banking system. All of the Rumble rants, they have to come through a bank, right? They don't send me a written check that I can then deposit. They don't send gold coins in the mail. The only way for me to be able to do business is through banking. If you can't bank, you can't do business. It's a huge, huge issue, and we're glad to see the Trump administration getting on top of this. Big financial institutions like JP Morgan, Bank of America, and PayPal voluntarily, they chose to become morality censors. They were depawning gun owners, freezing Christian nonprofit accounts, threatening podcasters with demonetization over misinformation. How many times did it happen to me? The only time I was ever safe was for the 3 years I was on mainstream radio with my show, and then they couldn't shut me down But at the end of the day, when you're in the legacy media, you're restricted from certain aspects of free speech that I enjoy right now. I don't have to take sponsors that I don't want now. But the sponsors that I do take, I take because it's something that I can actually feel good about selling. And most of the time, you know what the sponsor is? It's me selling my own stuff. As a matter of fact, this is just a little, behind the scenes stuff for you guys, just the economics of this business. If somebody offers me an advertisement and it's maybe even a little bit more than I would earn, say, from like a box of coffee or any of my products, I don't take the sponsor. Even if they're like, money in the hand, Austin, take the money. I don't take it because why would I want to give up the potential to have my own customer, to sell my own product or my own service or my own good, right? And then I also get to email you and text message you as well in the future to buy more stuff. Duh. So there are a lot of times I don't take sponsors if I feel if it's necessarily competitive with me. If they're competing products, then they have to actually give me a significant amount of money to make it worth it for me. So I mean, there's a lot of economics that goes on to a business like this. And this, again, it may seem as if, podcast. There are a lot of people who look at podcasting like it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they're like, oh yeah, that's cute. You have a podcast. Everybody has a podcast. Well, to a certain extent, that is true. A lot of people have podcasts, but what you don't understand is that podcasts are the medium now. Podcasts are, you're living in the future. And the ability to create a podcast network like the one you and I, the listeners of this show, are building right now. If you're listening to the show, even if you hate me, you're helping to build the For Liberty Network. A lot of my haters, they're like, Austin's getting ratioed. And I'm like, Austin's getting paid, bitch. So ratio once. Comments too long, didn't read. But podcasting is the voice. Podcasting is the mainstream media. What used to be the mainstream media is now the legacy media, and podcasts are now in charge. But without banking, there is no podcasting. I know you're saying, some of you are like, oh, well, use cryptocurrency. Well, you still have to have exchanges, and exchanges to some extent might as well be banks to some extent. Yada, yada, yada. I was tired the next morning. So why is this happening now? Republicans have been ramping up pressure on what they call woke capitalism. I really hate that phrase, but the big banks are starting to cave, just like the tech oligarchs, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, lining up behind the king, Donald Trump, changing some of their platforms. A lot of these platforms have actually taken their boot off my neck. That wouldn't have happened if Trump had not won. If Trump were not the president right now, these major corporation institutions would be wholly behind the left. They'd be bought into DEI. They'd be bought into ESG. Hell, right now there's a major battle going on at George Mason University, of all places, for those who know its legacy of freedom, against the president of the institution who's still trying to institute DEI programs, and they're fighting like hell to try and stop him from doing it. One of the most liberty-loving institutions in this country, and the president of the place is still stuck in, Donald Trump isn't the president of the United States. Well, he is, and the price is wrong, bitch. Sorry for all the B words. Sorry, ladies. Politically, banking bias is a winning message. This is a winning message. This is the kind of stuff that gets people to say, hell yeah, I'm absolutely voting Republican. This is a win for the right. It's a win for libertarians. It's a win for Republicans. It's a win for Trump. It's the type of winning that I voted for. I mean, tariffs suck, but this is winning. It's time to start a podcast. Y2 Joe, you've been wanting to start a sports podcast for a while. Buddy, boy, you need to sign up for my AI class. It's coming up soon. We've got Grover, the Nope president. Our next children's book is going to be dropping in maybe hours, not days. We're so close. And then when that's done, then the next project that'll be dropping will be our AI class for creators. So if you plan on starting a podcast, then you're definitely going to want to sign up for my course to teach you how to supercharge any of your content creation. And I'm even thinking about doing a special one just for podcasters, but that's going to have to come down the line because I have new classes, new courses, 3 new courses that'll be coming this year. And they're going to be AI for creators, AI for businesses, and AI for campaigns. So keep an eye out for those. Because honestly, for the price, I'll just give you a sneak preview. For the price that I'm going to charge for this to supercharge it, I should be charging way more. But for $150 to sign up and then $50 a month for access to me as your teacher, to show you how things are working, if you need to figure out, and updates to the course when new AI is rolling out, which new tools are rolling out all the time, for $150 for the AI for creators, that's cheap. Honestly, for my time to show you how to do this stuff, and to walk you through any of the things that you don't understand, it'll be $150 for the AI for creators courses. And it's going to have my secrets in there, guys. A lot of the secrets and tips and tricks that Brad and I are using to get 50,000 views, 150,000 views, 500,000 views, sometimes 1 million views on some of our content that we're creating. Those are big secrets. It's worth a lot more than $150. But that's how much the initial class will be for the AI for creators. And then, of course, you can also be a monthly subscriber to the course, which means you get all the updates and you get access to the private chat so that you guys can actually use me as your personal teacher if there's things that you don't quite understand. So lots of good stuff. Real Hunter Human is a real conservative. Well, we're glad to have you here, Hunter Human, even if you don't consider yourself to be a libertarian. You know who does? Well, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Remzo Martinez coming up next to talk about what's happening in Las Vegas. We're gonna move on to the next topic. President Trump is about to sign a big banking blowback order. That's fantastic. Great news. In a moment, we're going to bring in Remzo Martinez to dissect the collapse of tip income in Nevada and to break down Trump's tax-free tips plan. Why aren't people going to Las Vegas anymore? Unlock that bonus content, guys. Remember, Rumble Rants, early and often. Visit the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. Get our Camo Coin Bitcoin hat. The Camo Coin Bitcoin hat available for sale right now. Beautiful embroidered and camouflage Bitcoin hat available at forlibertyshop.com. We'll be right back. This summer isn't about sunscreen and safe spaces. It's about liberty, laughs, and looking like a red, white, and righteous badass. Welcome to the Summer of Freedom collection. Beach towels bold enough to trigger a liberal arts professor. Tank tops louder than a 4th of July fireworks finale. And mugs that scream, "Don't tread on my caffeine." Whether you're storming the sandbar or just grilling like George Washington with a Bluetooth speaker, this is the gear that lets everyone know. You're not here to play woke. You're here to play cornhole with conviction. So crack open a cold one, fire up the freedom, and rock the merch that makes communists cry. The Summer of Freedom is here, and it's absolutely unapologetic. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers. Pronouns are mandatory. And Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop forlibertyshop.com. Patriots, listen up. The sun's out, the shades are on.
Here at Alligator Alcatraz, the fence keeps them in. But slip up, and you're on my plate.
Looks like breakfast is making a run for it. We got 3 hot meals trying to check out early from Alligator Alcatraz.
They can splash, they can sprint, but there's no escaping Alligator Alcatraz. Caught 2.
The third? Huh.
The swamp's got its own way of catching runaways.
Mama was wrong. Gators don't need toothbrushes. Just an honest job making America
Picture this. It's 1776. Thomas Jefferson is hunched over his desk at Monticello, ink-stained fingers, writing the most radical document in human history. Do you really think he was sipping Starbucks? No. He was drinking something bold, something black, something brewed strong enough to fuel a revolution. That's the spirit behind Founding Flavors, our signature line of liberty-fueled coffee. No soy froth, no climate guilt, no corporate slogans.
Start with a 300.
I can count that for you. On the table.
Excuse me?
You have to lay it on the table.
I don't want to bet at all.
You're not allowed to hand me money, sir. You have to lay it on the table if you want me to change it.
Oh man, look at those old $20 bills.
Changing 300.
How young those guys were. And that guy there on the right. Everybody remembers him from the Ron Paul event. Will he be at the Ron Paul barbecue? I don't know. Maybe my next guest knows. Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We're glad to have you here. Don't forget, guys, drop a Rumble rant or visit the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. Help to unlock the bonus content. You get the mini documentary if we hit $75. If we hit $100 raised today, you pick today's Defense Against the Dark Arts showdown. Don't wait. Do it now. So while we've been busy fending off the woke banks and keeping the Liberty torch burning, there's another economic front line that's crumbling like a stale Vegas buffet. Sin City itself. We're going to talk about the Las Vegas service economy, where tip-based workers say their income has dropped by more than half. This is waiters, valets, blackjack dealers, cocktail servers, people who used to be able to pay rent, feed a family, and still toss a few bucks into the penny slots on the way out the door. 70% report their tips have been cut in half. Self-service kiosks and resort fees are replacing personal service. Tourists are angry at prices, taking it out on the workers by tipping less. The workers say this is actually worse than the pandemic. But meanwhile, the casino executives are sitting on velvet thrones, sipping $20 resort fee cappuccinos, wondering why morale is low. Trump is proposing a 100% tax exemption on tips. It was passed through the big, beautiful bill that would let workers keep every penny of what they earn from customers, not Uncle Sam. Let's bring in our next guest. Joining us now, the one, the only, the podcaster, author, genuine warrior for liberty, Remzo Martinez, host of On the Run and How to Succeed in Politics and Other Forms of Devil Worship. Good morning. Nice to see you, Remzo.
You know, that title was always a mouthful, but it's funny when you say it. Thanks, Austin.
Glad to have you here, bud. So what's going on with Las Vegas? It's not money, baby. What's happening?
It's consumer sentiment. You go to any of the casinos, you go to any of the restaurants, and what you're seeing right now is that people are holding back. They're not spending like they used to. There are a lot of factors out there, and I think a lot of them are driven by whether or not it comes down to this question. Do you like Trump or not? If you like Trump, what you're going to say is, we've just gone through 5 years of a horrible economy. It's going to take a while to go ahead and bounce back. If you don't like Trump, you're going to go ahead and say that everything is just, topsy-turvy. Foreign tourism is down. People aren't gambling as much because we're afraid that we're about to jump into another recession. I think the truth is really in the middle. I think that, post-pandemic, what we're seeing is a big generational divide. Boomers who have discretionary spending can come out here and sit at slots all day, while millennials don't even like really traveling as much anymore. And nonetheless, do they have just discretionary spending, extra cash laying around where they can go ahead and pay $300 a night at a very basic resort. And then everything comes with an additional resort fee, a convenience tax, local sales tax, and everything else. So while I think that Nevada is a great place to come live and do business in, I can definitely see that it's just going to be a tough ride for a little bit while, because Vegas is very much, a bellwether for how people feel throughout the country. And I say this as somebody who's traveled a majority of the United States coast to coast in the last year and a half. people just don't have the cash they used to. And to say that it's as bad as it was during the pandemic, I think is a bit of exaggeration on some people's parts. A lot of casinos outside of the Vegas Valley have closed down. You have a lot of casinos here that have had to get rid of their buffets and everything else, but at least people are working. I see jobs opening up all the time in the surrounding areas of Henderson and then the Summerlin portion of Vegas, Boulder City. It's going to be a little while before people feel like they can just go out and spend money on having a good time. So, do I think that Vegas is dead, as some people are saying? Absolutely not. That's an exaggeration. Is Vegas suffering because people are afraid to spend money on just fun, mindless things? Yeah, but I think that speaks to the larger economy and not just what's going on here in Vegas. While we're definitely not doing a great job selling $30 bottles of water at the Wynn Resort, there's a lot more to say about it.
There is. There's a lot of convergences happening at once that makes kind of the perfect storm for Vegas to be suffering right now. And we could go on at length with many of these things. One thing I saw yesterday was they were talking about just culture changes, that young people don't drink as much as they used to. And drinking culture is a big part of Vegas culture. And also young people don't gamble as much as older generations does. Well, if you're not drinking and you're not gambling, then it's hard to know what you're doing in Las Vegas. And if everything else is extremely expensive, like hotels, shows, food, then we're in a bit of a pickle here, or you're in a bit of a pickle there, Remzo. But my question is about tipping culture, because another part of this convergence is that Americans, I feel collectively, are getting fed up with tipping culture and how much we're being nickel and dimed at every single institution, and also being scammed in many ways where they put gratuities automatically on there, then they ask you for another tip. Talk to us a little bit about tipping culture in general. Do you feel like a wave of resentment that people have towards those working in tipped professions? If so, what do we do?
Oh, yeah. Let's look at Vegas, for example. And you can criticize businesses for bad business practices without criticizing capitalism like you have a lot of these leftists doing, where they're saying it's a whole systematic issue. Let's say you want to go into town and you want to go to the Strip, for example. You go ahead and you get your Uber and you're going off Friday night. Well, one, there's a giant premium on top of that. So your regular ride, even non-rush hour hours, which is probably going to be like, let's say $30 if you're getting a standard Uber, that's probably going to be more like $50, $60. So not only are you paying an extra premium on top of that, where the Uber driver is probably getting like 30, 40% of the overall fare. The tip for that's not instantly going to 20. It's going to 22, 25% in some cases. So you're paying on that. For your drinks, you're paying a massive accommodation fee on top of it. The sales fee, the convenience fees, everything else. The drinks are inflated everywhere on the Strip. It's horrible. Then you go anywhere else, and the tipping rate doesn't start at 18%, 20%. You're going 22% plus. So here in Vegas, not only are you just getting nickel and dimed on every opportunity, and they're pushing the tip beyond what is typical in most of the country, but you can't go anywhere. You go small town America, and you go and they're swiveling the little iPad over, asking for a tip on every little thing. It's gotten to the point where prices increase so much. Everything else got more difficult. No one can really say the quality of anything has gotten better the last 5 years, but they're passing the buck on to the consumer to go ahead and pay the tip for these folks. I work with a lot of folks in the entertainment industry who, thrive off of tips. And right now, people are just turning away from it, like you mentioned. I think it's gone too far. It's gotten too heavy. They're demanding too much. They're passing it on to us, and then they wonder why we don't spend.
Talk about Trump's tax-free tip bill. What do you make of it? Serious policy proposal? Are people really, are they going to benefit from this? What's your thought?
I think this is probably the most serious thing that he's put out. And of all the policies where it's gone to Congress, and then these good ideas basically turned to crap last minute. I think this is the one that he's been very serious about. I think a lot of the caps that Democrats kept putting on things, where eventually you will have to go ahead and declare income to a certain amount, and they're doing it really to say that, oh, well, we need to go ahead and make sure that we can fund Social Security and everything. I don't think that that's going away. I think there are Republicans who even like that idea. They just don't really say it out loud. But it's any excuse to let people keep more of their own money. I mean, let's go for it. But it's it's going to really suck if, you can keep all your tips, but then nobody's really tipping. There's got to be a change at some point.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Remzo Martinez from Marketer on the Run. We're talking a little bit about the rise and fall of Las Vegas this morning, tipping culture, and how the culture of the United States has changed. Is there a risk that removing taxes from the tips will just encourage the off-the-books stuff? I mean, there's going to be a lot of weird accounting shenanigans. I guess the White House did their best to try and narrow it down to certain people who benefit. But is there any grousing about the way that what counts as a tipped worker? I mean, does everybody pretty much in Vegas qualify for this, or are some people out? Some people might make too much money for it to really apply to them.
I think for a lot of people, like you said at the end, they make too much money for it to qualify. And you had a lot of people joking at the beginning of this, where it was like, oh, I guess I'm not taking a salary. I'm just going to give myself my whole salary as a tip.
Yeah,
you can't really do that. When it comes to bartenders, wait staff, bellhops, drivers, really anyone that is providing an entertainment job, not just performers, but private chefs and that type of thing, they're going to go ahead and really do well under this system. But at the end of the day, it's not just about, are people able to go ahead and declare their tips or not. The problem is that people just don't want to go out and spend. And I think it's a generational thing, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about it as much. My wife is a travel agent, and what she finds is that across the board, young people, millennials, are just not traveling. They're not traveling, but they're really not doing much of anything. They're not going to the movies. They're not really going out to eat. They're really creating more of like this in-home culture of just enjoy what I can afford right now. Whereas boomers are able to go out because, when you live through several of the greatest economic downturns, and then, upsides to that, when things eventually even out and do better in the market, of course they have money to go out and do things and then complain about the young people who have to go out and serve them. So I think that's a big thing too. I mean, it's only been 5 years, Austin. That's the wild thing. It's been 5 years since the pandemic. And I think even if the economy tomorrow was just doing absolutely gangbusters, I don't think a lot of people would change a lot of the habits that they formed. And that's really sad.
Yeah, that's a really good point. On the political front, Remzo, if you're looking at the No Tax on Tips Act, do you think that servers, bartenders, valets, I mean, do they become a swing constituency in 2024? Is this how Republicans hold Nevada going forward? I mean, it's politically popular, right?
Yeah, Trump lost Nevada in 2020. He regained it again in 2024. Largely, Las Vegas County has been held by Democrats. When you go ahead and look at, Clark County. Clark County has largely been held by Democrats. When you look at the rest of the state of Nevada, it's bright red. It's just here where it's a pretty solid line that's blue. Largely, I'd say that Nevada voters are typically more independent than a lot of people give them credit for. The Democrats, they're pretty loud. Republicans aren't really happy if Republicans at the federal level. They really like their state level folks. But if you can go ahead and keep this going, I mean, it's why Trump won all the swing states last time, which is because he spoke to the regular working person. He spoke to the service worker. Nevada is a bit different in the sense that, we're not an industrial state. We're not a lot of these states out in the Rust Belt that got hollowed out because of trade policy. It's entertainment. We come here when people feel good. When people feel good, they spend. And if they don't feel good, they're not spending, and they're certainly not spending it here. They're going to cheaper places. There's a reason why Nashville, while, economically, when you look at Tennessee and Nevada, it's very similar in many ways. There's a sentiment that like a trip to Nashville is going to be cheaper and more affordable than a trip to Las Vegas. In some cases, maybe, but not entirely. So I think it's really just come down to the fact that people don't feel comfortable spending. When they do feel comfortable spending, they're not going to go ahead and spend their money here. And, the hotel chains and a lot of other of the big, gambling companies, casinos, they don't feel like they need to go ahead and do anything remotely to accommodate people. You see a lot of the hotels on the strip slashing resort fees, which I think is good. I always thought that was an extraneous charge for a lot of cases. But, nothing else is really improving. And they're saying, oh, well, we need to go ahead and keep up with it. But it's just, people aren't buying it. People aren't buying it. And it's not enough to get them to go ahead and spend, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a 2-night stag trip anymore. It's just not helpful.
Okay, so last question for you on this, Remzo, and then I want to talk about campaign jobs now. If you were Robert De Niro and you were the head of the casino, or maybe you were maybe you're the head of Vegas itself, how would you turn it around? If you had the power to fix Las Vegas, what would you do to turn that city around?
Biggest thing, no resort fees. You got to get rid of those resort fees. I'm all for, businesses making money, but like you're strangling people. You looked at it like, oh, well, if I can get away with it, I can. Absolutely ridiculous. Go ahead and get rid of the resort fees. Secondly, you got to understand why young people are coming. Like you said, Austin, I say this is somebody that was a part owner of a microbrewery back in Milwaukee that shut down because young people were not coming to the tap room to buy beer anymore. You got to find the next wave of customers. Like people are not coming down for the Wayne Newton shows and Donny Osmond and everything else and the Elvis impersonator. No. They're coming down. No, it's sad. I mean, they're coming down for EDC and everything. They're coming down for the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere. You got to find the reasons why people are actually coming. We have a beautiful, beautiful desert scenery for tourism where people can go and visit the valley and not have to necessarily stay on the strip and stuff. So I don't necessarily think I have the answer. I think the biggest thing is immediately just stop fleecing people. And as a marketer, my thing is just find where you can bring people in. So that way, if you get somebody in their 30s to come and have a good time, they'll be coming here for a while. But that, that old school Las Vegas charm that you see in films like Casino and others, that's just not really here. And I'll finish off with this one. There was a video a couple weeks ago at Resorts World of these guys playing blackjack, and they were in the high limits room. They were playing $2,500 hands. One guy there is actually staying at the hotel. A cocktail waitress comes by and she goes ahead and asks him what he wants to drink. He says, I want, like a whiskey or something. His friend asks for a strawberry banana smoothie. She says no, because you're not staying here. And everyone looks at him. They're like, excuse me, like he's playing $2,500 hands. Manager comes over, says, sorry, we only comp drinks if you're staying here. And they're like, excuse me, we've been playing here for a little bit and we're playing $2,500 hands. Red Rock Casinos over in Summerlin went ahead and invited that guy the next night, filmed a video of him getting served his strawberry banana smoothie and says, we take care of people.
Yeah.
If you take care of people, especially those spending money, you know what they're going to do? They're going to spend money.
Yes. Gosh, that's so stupid. Remzo, a buddy of mine the other day, he unfortunately, the division he was working for got shut down. And just perfect timing. He heard about me talking about the campaign jobs that are available now to fight for liberty and get paid well. I was telling Stephanie about campaignjobsnow.com/apply last week. I kid you not. We were in the car and she was like, that's a lot of money. I was like, that is it. Now you're going to work for it and you're definitely going to lose that 15 pounds you were looking for. But if people go to campaignjobsnow.com/apply, they're going to get good jobs fighting for a good cause, are they not?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking starting pay of $3,100 a month. We're going to cover your housing. We're going to cover your gas. We're going to cover all your training. Right now, throughout the country, specifically in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, we've got really great races and the opportunity not only secure some big wins this year, but we're building the permanent infrastructure for 2026. And all of this effort helps us actually go ahead and build a red wall, especially in Pennsylvania, so the Democrats can never win another general election in our lifetime.
Oh, yeah,
so
that sounds great.
Yeah, if you're a college kid who needs something to do, we got you covered. If you're somebody else who's just looking for something fun and you want a little bit of adventure and a story to tell later, we got you covered. So we're getting you paid, we're getting you trained, and we're helping Liberty win, which is the most important thing.
You love to see it. You love to hear it. If only I had known or if maybe there had been these kinds of opportunities when I first got started, I wouldn't have spent the first 2, 3, 4 years of my political life not getting paid, doing it all for free, but it was a great experience. CampaignJobsNow.com/apply. Remzo Martinez, marketer on the run, friend of the show. Thank you, Remzo. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Austin. Take care.
I have to let them know I'm watching all the details all the time, that there is not one single thing I will not catch as I am over here. Look at yours. What? Look at that. Look at this. There's nothing. Look how many blueberries your muffin has and how many mine has. Yours is falling apart. I have nothing. What are you talking about? It's like everything else in this place. You don't do it yourself, it never gets done. Where are you going? How long can this go on? From now on, I want you to put an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin. An equal amount of blueberries in each muffin.
Do you know how long that's going to take?
I don't care how long it takes. Put an equal amount in each muffin.
Working in the coal mine, going down, down, down. Hey guys, are we having fun yet? You know we got 2 more amazing guests. About to get all Gyno up in here in just a few minutes, but don't forget, guys, the bonus content waits for you to be unlocked. Your Defense Against the Dark Arts class is ready to go. If you don't hit the $75 bonus content goal, then both go away forever. We've got a 2-stage bonus content program for you guys. Yesterday, we knocked it out of the park, and we unlocked both. My recommendation, hit up the Liberty Shop over at forlibertyshop.com and get yourself a camo coin Bitcoin camouflage trucker hat. Comes in 3 colors as long as it's black. Just kidding. Camouflage brown, camouflage khaki, or olive, and camouflage black over at forlibertyshop.com. Type in camo coin, C-A-M-O coin in the search. I also dropped it down in the Rumble comment section as well. You can find that over at the Griff Shop at forlibertyshop.com. Let's buy some hats. Let's buy some coffee. And let's unlock that bonus content. Once we hit $75 raised, you get to watch the bonus content instead of commercials, which is way more fun. And if we raise $100, you get a special Defense Against the Dark Arts class, which has been really popular lately. And we've been hitting those bonus content markers. Let's do it, guys. Drop those Rumble rants if you appreciate the content. And if you like what you see over at the Liberty Shop, head to forlibertyshop.com. Get yourself some Betsy Ross sneakers, or an American flag champion jacket, or maybe even some of our amazing earrings for the Lady of Liberty in your life. Okay? Okay. Don't go away. Coming up next, the culture war goes full Stepford wife as we talk about adult daycare. That's corporate jobs for the women's. Don't be mad, ladies. All right, Camellia is going to face off. We're going to talk about career girls and the new face of having it all. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
You haven't heard. About what? All your new shows, the affiliates won't touch them. We can't let you sink the network. Thank you for taking this so well.
Goodbye, everybody! Why are we moving?
We're moving so that we can be the happiest family in the whole world.
Welcome to Stepford.
Stepford is the family paradise. It has no crime, no poverty, and no pushing.
Sounds great.
Good morning, ladies. Wait, you work out dressed like this? Of course. We always want to look our very best.
You and Stepford, it seems like a real match.
Absolutely. And all of your wives, they're so, sizzling.
To Stepford!
Yes, Stepford!
Am I the only one who finds all of this more than a little disturbing?
Shut up, Bette Midler, Nicole Kidman. We want to live in Stepford. I want to be there with those boys, smoking cigars and whiskey. All the women beautiful, all knowing their place. All right, guys, joining us now to fight for women's rights to party and have jobs and opinions is here with her opinion. She's a conservative-ish woman. Her name is Camellia Peterson. She joins us every Tuesday and Thursday here on the Wake Up America show. Let's give it up for CJ. Hi, Camellia. You ready to go?
May we have an aesthetic salon with a Botox technician on every corner. Who needs taco trucks?
Camellia, I think the audience is very confused about what we're talking about here. So let me just set it up really quick. We're going to tap into two of the biggest cultural stories of the week. First is this viral Microsoft employee meltdown where one woman's workday full of snack breaks, bubble tea, walks in the park, and emotional decompressing has triggered a backlash. Yes. Modern work-life balance or adult daycare gone wild. This is one of those issues Hannah Cox would be all up in arms about, Camellia. Are some of these white-collar office jobs just adult daycare for women? Be honest.
I mean, I'm just reading this thinking, wow, if you can actually get this kind of gig somewhere and get paid good money for it, like, who's not going to do that?
Yeah, right? It's great. Yes. It's
like I think she's done well for herself.
No kidding. What did they call these? A few years ago, we had a different name for these things. They were the jobs. There's like girl easy or like girl. It was a way of saying that women live life in easy mode. Can you imagine if a man posted a video of his day at work at tech job and he was at every 5 minutes taking snack breaks and like doing the yoga on company time? Can you imagine how roasted? Don't you think that these chicks deserve to be roasted? Just knowing that if the shoe were on the other foot, we would rightfully feel ashamed and embarrassed of ourselves. And maybe Camellia, maybe you, the royal you, not you, Camellia, you're a hard worker, but maybe the royal you ought to be shamed.
I mean, we're in our soft girl era, right?
Soft girl era, that's what it's called. Thank you for reminding me. Soft girl jobs.
Women are delicate creatures. We need more breaks, right? And so,
okay, good. There it is.
Although I will say it was funny because like she even took, you think the guys are going to take some downtime, do a little gaming, but no, she's got that covered too. She takes a little gaming break too, takes a dessert walk. Was it a dessert walk in the park or something like that? Yes. I don't know. I will say, like, she did admit after she got some backlash that she might be making it sound like a little better than what it is. But, people, anything you put on the internet, people are going to hyper analyze it. And they did with her video. And I think they're calculating, just on what she posted, like the actual number of hours that she potentially could have worked. I think the most generous, calculation was like a little over 6 hours, and people were like more realistically probably like 3.5 that she was actually working. But I don't know, that's if companies I guess are going to pay that then, and this is what Microsoft, right? Hyderabad or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of resentment out there, and yes, people are going to overanalyze everything that's happening in this situation. But it's kind of, I think even more resentful or resentfulness or resentment is happening just because of the state of the economy in so many ways, because it really just hasn't become normal since COVID-19. Everything has been out of whack. I just got done talking to Remzo Martinez, and we were talking about how Vegas is struggling. Young people, they aren't drinking or gambling like older generation does. That's kind of like a millennial boomer thing now for the generations of people who still enjoy that activity. So the economy is out of whack. You got manufacturing jobs down, and some people are really struggling to make ends meet. They can't spend money in Las Vegas. A lot of these blue collar workers across the country who are supposed to be helped by the big, beautiful bill are now like, these are the people who were like, tax me harder, daddy. And then when they actually saw how the price of their manufacturing equipment, like that Montana Knife Company guy is going, he's like, hey, I didn't realize it was going to hurt me on my business or my thing. And it's just kind of like, yeah, you jackass. So, but I mean, it's a total mess, Camellia. The economy's a mess. So when people see chicks doing their highly paid tech jobs and then rubbing it in our faces, I mean, I don't know, like I've a little communism rubs off on me a little bit. I'm just going to say, oh, yeah, power to the workers to some extent.
Right.
Really,
and it's I don't remember the location. Was she in India? I'm trying to remember.
I'll have to check.
Was she in? Yeah, I know. I don't remember where she was. Regardless, I mean, it's an American company, right?
Microsoft.
But yes, so I mean, the thing is, it's like we are told that this is the golden age and the economy is getting so much better and tariffs are pouring money into the economy, et cetera, so on and so forth. But, I would just like to say that the last time I bought my, bag of, generic brand coffee beans from Sam's, which I really like, and it's, one of the small pleasures that I partake of in life, it cost me $2 more for that bag last time I bought it here than the last month. Yeah, this week when I bought, like the bulk size hamburger ground beef from Sam's, it was over $5 a pound, and I've never paid that at a Sam's Club for ground beef here in the Midwest in Missouri. I know people on the coast pay more than that, and you probably pay for it at your regular grocery store, but we're talking about, these, bulk big market stores, and my grocery bill is still higher.
Yeah. Joni called me out. I totally should have done it. I should have played it coming in here. Hold on one second. Camellia, let's take a listen. So she is in Hyderabad. 9 o'clock, she reaches the office. Hi. Grab a coffee. 9:15, breakfast. 9:45, start work. Oh, she's on time. 9:45, she starts work. 11 o'clock, quick snacks. Many of which are free. 11:30, brainstorming. Focus work at noon. Wow, we really start the real work at noon. 1 o'clock, good morning, pineapples. Dessert, 1:30. It goes on and on. I think we get it. It looks like adult daycare to me, Camellia.
Good morning, pineapple.
Looking very good and very nice. Camellia, are people wrong to feel resentment towards someone like this?
I mean, I can understand the resentment because it is, but in some ways, this is maybe should be eye-opening in that, the internet, Instagram is not all that it could seem to be, right? Because, I'm sorry, let's think about this too. How much time do you think it took her to prepare that video?
It depends. I mean, there's a couple of different ways you could make a video like that, but why?
I'm just saying, she's investing, a lot of time you got to set up the shots of all the things that she's doing. Everything is very calculated through this, right?
Sure.
So we're not only talking about her break time, we're talking about that she's taking time from her day job to then actually make money for her side hustle. Most businesses are going to have a problem with that.
Good point. If they don't have a problem with what she's doing now.
Right. Yeah.
How could they have a problem with that? It seems to me as if there's one set of standards, and that there is some, perhaps. Would you admit that there's at least some truth to the soft girl jobs, that if the shoe were on the other foot, that a man would be rightfully roasted, whereas we have to question, does she deserve it just for existing and being pretty, right? It is a double standard, right?
Sure. And I think that this is something I think that's as old as time. I do think that, young, attractive women are probably, people are going to cut them more slack.
Yeah. That's why there's a hot waitress index for Waffle House. Did you know this?
No.
Do you know what a hot girl index is, Camellia? Do you not know?
I think so, but
what is the hot
never
girl
heard
index, Camellia?
I don't I cannot describe it to you. I know that it exists, but I'm not sure what the criterion is.
I think it's usually called the hot waitress index. Investors use this information to determine the health of the economy. It's kind of like Waffle House.
Oh, no, I don't then. No. Okay.
There's a Waffle House index for hurricanes that they have. If the Waffle Houses are closed, then it's probably a really dangerous hurricane. But the hot waitress index is the hotter your service industry workers are, the worse your economy is. So if your economy is, because hot women like this, hot women, I don't say she's hot, this chick, I'm not an Indian chick, but if she could get a job like this, then the economy is not that bad. But if she has to go and sling curry for a living, then it's a bad economy. So the hot waitress index is, if your waitress is hot, the economy, it's bad.
Well, right, because, major corporations and their office tech jobs, they don't have money to throw away on, less qualified women, right?
Well, the nice thing is that we only have to pay you 70% of the man, right?
That's right. It's cheaper.
These are some of my favorite segments. victimize Camellia on the Wake Up America show. What is it worth to our audience for me to punish you like I do with the topics that I choose? I could only get away with it with Camellia Peterson. So you guys better be watching on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central Time. There's a reason to watch the Wake Up America show every stinking minute. I pack this show full of amazing guests and topics. But my sessions of making Camellia blush at oftentimes to the point of abusing her on this show.
I should get some pity donations for this, right?
Like
to go towards the bonus content or something.
I feel like it's a catch-22, Camellia. I feel like if you had your own show on the For Liberty Network, if you were to step in and you'd have your own Discord channel and everybody would love Camellia, and you'd probably make way more money than I would because, again, there's the mail tax for being in an industry where people want to see my face, where they don't want to see my face. They want to see your face, Camellia.
Oh, I thought you guys made more money, though.
Well, 70%. Yeah, you make 70% of the dollar. But it's a lot more dollars. So I make fewer dollars, but for every dollar you make, it's 70% of that, but it's still more dollars overall. 70% of the time, it works every time. Camellia, the Stepford Wives thing that I played in the intro, conservative women are having it all. The Wall Street Journal, I feel like you and I are kind of the only people who sort of got the unspoken or the unreported in this Wall Street Journal article that was talking about all these powerful conservative women in Washington, D.C., and you know many of them. Otherwise, you have become a powerful woman, whether you accept it or not, here in the state of Missouri, having you being the fact that you are now a lobbyist and you have responsibility here in the state of Missouri. So, I mean, the idea of women having it all is not a new idea. It seems to me, though, that unspoken in all of the adulation that these conservative women are receiving is that ultimately their behavior is not really conservative. Am I wrong? I mean, you tell me. I'm going to let you take the reins now.
Yeah, how many times have we talked about the kind of the trajectory of feminism and the expectation that it's set up young women up in our society with the idea that they can have it all, and now they're running into the reality that you can't have it all, right? I mean, something has to give. Like for everything that you say yes to, you say no to something else. And so this article is really interesting because it talks about, basically the summary of the article is that conservative women are having it all and they're doing it well. And, and to me, like I'm reading through all of these stories about Katie Britt and Caroline Leavitt and, several other, prominent conservative women who are talking about, the choices that they made to juggle their family life because they still want to have kids because that's conservative, right? So they want to have kids, but they also want that career. So, they kind of paint this picture of it's really hard and, people call them super women, but it's doable and it's important for them to be able to do both. And so, but one of the things that when you see articles like this or stories like this in other places, they usually leave this little part out, is that there's very often a nanny involved, right? And so that was kind of brought out as like, this is what my nanny does every day with my kids and my husband. So like the husband and the nanny are doing the kid thing. And, she's, and the one woman even said, she was like, people say, oh, and I have absolutely no problem at all. Like if you can make your work align with being able to have your kids with you at the same time and you can strike that balance, I don't have an issue with that. But it has to be the right balance. And so, there was one lady who her toddler, like by 3, had flown like 14 times. Like, okay, well, that's fine that she's physically with her. Like how present is she, in that time? And she said, somebody said that, well, when you go home to your kids, like, because she's gone so much, she's like, when you go home to your kids, like, you must spend a lot of time with them. And she was like, when I'm home, I'm on my phone all the time. And I was like, she actually said that out loud in an interview, like that was a good thing. And I just like, to me, it's sad because I get it that life is not perfect. It's very difficult to live on one income in this economy. People do make it work. Everybody's circumstances are different, but also the women they're highlighting in this, they're not highlighting women who have husbands with low paying jobs or anything like that. Like their husbands are
powerful men with lots with more income even than their
It's not a necessity for them to work. This is a choice for their own desire and fulfillment, but they want to be able to have it all. And I just can't help, but think that it's sad because I think the trade-off in letting someone else raise your kids, and I don't care if you're still around, if you're not there with them in those hours, especially in those early formative years, like, to me, that's heartbreaking. I just cannot imagine having made that trade-off with my own girls. And I just see, even, here in Missouri, I see some of the young women in conservative Republican politics and in pro-life politics, and they're having babies and they're back at work and they're traveling all over the countries before that baby's even 3 months old. And I just, to me, that's just really sad because there's something that you are missing. And, when you and I talked about it, you said, that's not conservative. I mean, how are we defining this as conservative?
I mean, and doesn't this, and not to be a Debbie Downer or pee-pee in anybody's Coke, but doesn't it, the article itself and how these women are living their lifestyle, doesn't it then disprove that you can have it all? The article sets out to say, no, we have it all. But they don't have it all. And the article doesn't even mention that. I'm a little disappointed in the Wall Street Journal that it's kind of out of touch with where the base of the Republican Party is, because the Republican Party is about family values and women who have a place in a home that is intrinsic, not some power fantasy of some, some right-wing, conserva boss, racking up kills on Instagram with lots of hearts and likes, the next governor of North Carolina, if shall not be named at this moment. You know what I'm talking? Oh yeah, that face, that is why this is not an audio only show. And for those who listen to the audio show later, I want them to just note that if you're an over the road trucker, whoever the 100 people are a day that download the audio version of this episode, small number of people, but the people who do, you just missed out on the whole show. The watching Camellia sink into the face is why you watch it and why you watch it live. You don't want to have to miss it later. So Camellia, the question remains, doesn't this show really that you can't have it all?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're trying to make it sound like you can, but the truth is they're no different from the left when they talk about the women who put their kids into daycare, because they're literally talking here about how it's so hard and challenging because daycare is so expensive and blah, 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 blah. And it's very elitist in a sense too, right? I mean, because here you're talking about, conservatives, Republicans returning to traditional values and how that it's a bad thing that in this economy we can't, have, one parent be the breadwinner in the household. And so both parents have to work. We're talking about those things like they are negatives, but here we are elevating it when it's not necessary. I mean, the average American, both parents are not out there working, spending time away from their children because they just want to. I mean, there's plenty of them that do, but there are a lot of them that have no choice. And what are we saying to them? I mean, to me, it is backwards from the message that has been coming out of the conservative movement. And I don't know, maybe that's kind of part of the trajectory of this administration, is that in a lot of sense, it has defied some of the things that we've been talking about in the conservative movement over the last, 2-4 years.
Yeah, but you got to admit that Anna Paulina Luna is one fine piece of ace. I know from experience, dude.
I do not have to admit that, but... And I honestly had forgotten about the South Carolina gubernatorial candidate.
South Carolina gubernatorial candidate. Now I look stupid.
Oh, did you say something else?
I said North, I think. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. But no, so I almost forgot. Somebody sent that to me yesterday. I was just like...
Andy Opperman just unlocked phase 1 and phase 2 of the bonus content right away. We were inching up close, but he just blew past the mark. Thank you guys so much. And thank you to Evan Rowan for that Rumble Rant donation as well. So that means that after this excellent segment with Camellia, you guys get to watch the bonus content before we bring up Katya Sedgwick to talk about Zoran Mandani and the rise of anti-Semitism in New York City politics. Camellia, I'm really just flabbergasted that you're not a big fan of Nancy Mace for governor of South Carolina. No. Isn't she everything that women wish to be? She's invaded the male space. She went to the Citadel when it was supposed to be men only. She busted in, got herself into those male spaces. She got herself elected, got a great boob job, showed her naked body on the floor of Congress. Aren't you inspired by Nancy Mace?
Yeah, I mean, she is out there telling the left how it is and taking every opportunity to get herself on camera on every street corner that she can. There might even be a little bit of assault on her end going on in order to make those moments happen, but no, I would say that the silver lining to this is that her colleagues in Congress are probably fairly relieved. So, because she at least won't be coming back to them. So they're like, whew, okay, no more drama and, walking through the tunnels in your pajamas on your way.
Just imagine all of the meetings of the governor of South Carolina in her pajamas. That'll be fantastic. Honestly, that sounds like a stunt I would pull, but that's why I don't get elected. Camellia, anything else you want to share with our audience? Don't say no. Yes, the answer is always yes.
The answer is always yes. I heard John Miltimore yesterday giving his plug, and he's like, and I'm like, John, like, hey, I'd like to do this. Well, I have no Substack like John, but you can follow me on especially X, Rare Camellia, and so anyway, you're welcome there. You can also find me pretty easily on Facebook. Everything I post on Facebook for the most part is public, although it's not as much because I hate it.
Okay, Camellia Peterson at Rare Camellia over on X. Terrible at plugs, but hopefully.
Oh, hey, I do have one other thing.
Oh, let's hear it.
So this is specific to Missouri.
Okay.
But like if you are in Missouri and you come out to the state fair that goes from the middle of this week through the rest of the week after that, look for me because I will be there most of the time in my work capacity, and I would love to see you.
Awesome. Well, we're going next, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after.
Okay,
and
I'll be there.
We'll definitely look for you if you're there. So have a wonderful day, and we'll see you, Camellia, at the Missouri State Fair. That sounds good.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good one. Bye.
Progressive social. Is this what the party should look like?
Yes.
The Democratic Party move.
You bet. The Democratic Party needs to stand up and be clear. We are the party that fights for affordability for working families. That means child care. That means housing. It means health care. It means making this country work better for the working people who make this country work.
All right, last question.
I get a little excited about this. Okay.
You've unlocked the bonus content, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Prepare for the return of the Master. Your Defense Against the Dark Arts class. I will drop your options in the Rumble chat so that you guys can vote on your Defense Against the Dark Arts class. It's a choose your own adventure. We'll be back with Katya Sedgwick on Zoran Mandani in New York City. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you feeling bad, sad, lonely, despondent about your life, anxious about politics, angry about the state of the world? The gurus and influencers and deep thinkers of the internet have identified the culprit, the reason, the overarching explanation for why everything everywhere sucks all the time. Do you feel horrible? That's capitalism, baby, says the wildly popular mental health influencer Therapy Jeff in a TikTok with nearly 50,000 likes. Is your self-worth based on who you are or what you do? If it's what you do and the value you create, that's internalized capitalism. In another video on the platform, 2 attractive 20-something women discuss how late-stage capitalism has affected their social lives and complain that there's a lack of public, third spaces. The video was filmed in what appears to be a public park. In another video, this time with over 14,500 likes, a young woman declares that capitalism is the root of all evil, before adding, "I'm also a business owner, but fuck capitalism, right?" Do you feel horrible? That's capitalism, baby. Online, capitalism has become a shorthand for just about every disliked cultural trend, no matter how universal or eternal. Unrealistic beauty standards? Capitalism. Monogamy? Capitalism. People not wanting to give you a ride to the airport? Capitalism. Capitalism gets conflated with everything from consumerism and government corruption to the concept of work itself. Online anti-capitalism is not so much a reaction against economic reality as a reaction against, well, reality. It's the all-purpose villain ruining everything that should be good about modern life. If for my friend and yours seeing this, let's be radical anti-capitalists together while you drive me home from LAX. Hatred of capitalism has coincided with a boom in popularity for socialism and even communism. In a recent Pew poll, only 40% of 18 to 29-year-olds had a positive view of capitalism, while 44% viewed socialism positively. In another poll, 34% of young people reported a favorable view of communism, which in Joseph Stalin's Soviet Union killed millions of people from famine alone. This sort of thinking has already had real-world political consequences. In June, self-identified socialist Zoran Mamdani handily won New York City's Democratic mayoral primary on a platform of state-run grocery stores and a rent freeze. Some polls now indicate he's the front-runner for the city's top elected office. It's hard not to read this shift as downstream of a real malaise among many Americans, especially young adults. Surveys consistently find that young people feel lost and forgotten. They're having a hard time finding jobs they like and friends they can count on. Young Americans frequently feel that the system simply isn't working, and so they blame that system for their fears, frustrations, and anxieties. But capitalism isn't the reason why you or anyone else is unhappy. Blaming capitalism is a fantasy, a rhetorical escape that allows people to shift the blame from their own choices to a powerful external force outside their control. The capitalist blame game is a social media-friendly cover for a lack of personal meaning and social connection, a crutch for those who have not made their lives their own. By arguing that capitalism is the cause of your dissatisfaction, you deny your own agency. Your problems become both unsolvable and someone else's fault, and if your problems are intractable and insurmountable, you no longer have a duty to try to overcome them. This lack of agency is comforting, but only leads to more unhappiness in the long term. The solution is not to blame capitalism or any other shadowy conspiratorial force for your problems, but to accept that you're in the driver's seat of your own life. There's no way that you're going to tell me I'm going to work my whole life, says one 20-something travel influencer in a nearly manic viral video. I'm going to sit behind a fucking desk and work 9 to 5 each day of my life until retirement. There is no way that is what life is about. I want to have fun. Like, I actually want to have fun, and I don't understand why this is the norm and we're putting up with this. In another popular video, a young woman films herself lip-syncing from her cubicle with the caption, "When I tell my parents I'm sick of working and they say some dumb shit like, 'Welcome to adulthood,' or 'You're just getting started,' like, bro, I genuinely have nightmares about having to work for the next 60 years. In the comments, it's actually very upsetting. I cry at this all the time, and like y'all knew how much it sucked and y'all still had me," have more than 2,000 and 1,000 likes respectively. In the discourse of internet anti-capitalism, this feeling that adulthood should somehow just be more fun comes up time and time again. It's often paired with a general aversion to having a standard 9-to-5 job at all, even one that pays well. So it's no wonder that many young people seem to share a politically left-leaning sense that just about anything is better than the American middle-class standard, whether that's Europe, communist Cuba, or even prehistoric hunter-gatherer tribes. You might remind one of these creators that Spain's youth unemployment rate is over 25%, that 10% of Cuba's population fled the country in 2022-2023, and that Stone Age life was no love fest, but you probably won't convince them to extol the virtues of free markets and the dramatic reduction in poverty wrought by global capitalism. And that's because this kind of anti-capitalism is fundamentally an escapist fantasy. It's a form of utopian thinking that irrationally assumes capitalism is the only thing standing between you and a life without real problems. You can find utopian anti-capitalism on the far right as well. Instead of dreaming of a world without work or consumerism, right-wing trad bros fantasize about a past when women were financially dependent on men, and immigrants didn't compete with native-born Americans for jobs. On the left, though, a world without capitalism is often imagined as a world without responsibilities of any kind. This view is laid bare in one viral 18-second TikTok in which a young woman creates a mock dialogue between humans and capitalism. Can I please just get paid to make videos and do art? What do you dream of doing? Capitalism asks. To which humans reply that they really like just hanging out. For a punchline, an exasperated capitalism huffs, "We can't exploit you off that, pick something else." Yet a world in which everyone can just hang out instead of working is a totally unworkable plan for human society. To believe capitalism is the only thing holding us back from endless leisure is to suggest that food and clothes can grow and sow themselves, and that you've forgotten that the automation we do have in those industries is itself an outgrowth of capitalist industrialization. It's the kind of magical thinking that, as one band of online communists made clear in an infamous 2020 Twitter thread, assumes that everyone on the commune gets to brew lattes and write poetry while no one has to scrub latrines or dig ditches. The obvious problem with this utopian...
Sorry I had to cut you off in the middle of that, guys. We will play the full bonus content at the end of the show today, but I didn't want to miss a single minute of an opportunity to speak with my next guest. She'll be joining us here in just a moment. But big thank you to everybody in the chat today for unlocking phase 2 of the bonus content. It's just absolutely unbelievable the amount of generosity, the outpouring of support that you guys show for this show. Every single morning, Stephanie and I, after we're over, we hug each other, we kiss each other. We can't believe that we can make a living podcasting out of my shoe closet. And it's all thanks to the generous financial contributions from people like you. All that money that's getting stolen from you guys from Corporation for Public Broadcasting, it's now it being in your pocket. So give it back to the independent media, the real broadcasting that you support. And certainly you guys have been doing that. So now, after Katya is here, you'll get your Defense Against the Dark Arts class, like I promised. And you guys get to choose which class to take. Class A is the Envy Curse, Why the Left Hates the Rich and You Too. Choose from Class A, the Envy Curse, How to Fight the Curse of Envy. And then Class B is the Obedience Hex, Why They Want You Docile, Distracted, and Dependent. In order to fight back against the evils of socialism, the evils of communism, the evils of fascism, you're going to need a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. That is me, your host, Austin Petersen. This is the Wake Up America show. Your bonus content has been unlocked. Thank you to everyone who helped to do so. For your financial contributions, make sure that this show is on live 5 days a week. Choose in the chat, drop A or B, which class you would prefer. I'll tally it up, and after this next interview, you guys will be able to join us. Zoran Mamdani has a new speaker for him. Elizabeth Warren is now out there speaking for Zoran Mamdani, saying that democratic socialism is the future of the Democratic Party. Zoran Mamdani's past now being dug into. Katya Sedgwick has been writing in her Substack about him and more problems that not only the left is facing in their own party, but on the right as well. Joining us live now from very early in the morning, all the way from California, Katya Sedgwick. Good morning, Katya. Welcome to the Wake Up America show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Big picture, what is New York City and perhaps even the United States and maybe even the Democratic Party? What are they all and we all faced with the prospect of Zoran Mamdani as the mayor of New York?
Well, the big picture is that we are facing a democratic socialist running the biggest city in America and the most important city in the world. And New York, of course, is a finance hub, culture hub. It's hard to believe that a city as important as it is for the finance industry would be run by about communist, the person who says that he wants to redistribute the wealth, the person who says that government should own the means of production, which is, of course, the Marxist-Leninist goal. It's troublesome to think about the future of New York.
Well, I mean, New York, there's so many Jewish New Yorkers who vote Democrat, Katya. The New York Times has lauded the fact that so many Jewish Democrats are lining up behind Zoran Mamdani. Is it true? If so, why? If not, why not?
Well, I suppose it's true to the best of our knowledge. However, well, Jews historically voted for Democrats, and right now it's sort of a split within the Democratic Party. There's the old guard, for which actually not having another alternative, perhaps the Orthodox Jews are likely going to vote there. And unfortunately, the opposition to Mandani is split between various figures. So, and then of course there are the economically squeezed hipsters who are perhaps more attuned to younger, hipper Mamdani. He also represents, unfortunately, the future of the Democrat Party at this point, as the old guard is aging. However, I believe the support for Mamdani among Jews is at 42 points, something like that. Compared to 37 overall. So it's within 5 points. So you can say, depending on the poll, it's within the margin of error.
Israel has leapt to the front of the conversation, foreign policy-wise, ever since October 7th, when the horrific crimes that were committed against Israeli civilians shocked the world and sparked a war between Israel and Gaza against Hamas. And now the entire world is consumed. The Prime Minister of Ireland, the leftist radical that he is, has actually called for NATO to declare war against Israel and to fight against Israel in the war on Gaza. Up is down, left is right, topsy is turvy, and the Republican Party has taken up a new surge, a wave of where it's not disinterest towards Israeli policies and actual antipathy towards the Jewish people themselves. How do we find ourselves in this mess, and how do we get ourselves out of the quagmire that the United States, NATO countries, Israel, Gaza, how do we get ourselves out of this quagmire? Does it start with campaigns like Zoran Mandani pushing back against the radical Islamists in the United States and the influence that they have in government, or where do we start to unravel this Gordian knot?
Well, my feeling is that the GOP is still heavily pro-Israel, except for, unfortunately, the younger contingent, and also all of a sudden the influencers who turned on a dime within really a few months. What I would like to see is Trump taking a stronger stand for Israel, and maybe push the party of some of the more questionable people, particularly the ones influential with the younger generation. And of course, I'm not just talking about Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, but for some reason, Candace Owens is still a speaker. She's a featured speaker at Turning Point USA, and that's where younger conservatives go.
Well, so Israel has become a major topic of conversation amongst Republicans because of the younger generation's antipathy towards Israel. And part of their complaint, which may be lodged in some truths, of course, is that, in an America First foreign policy, that the state of Israel would not sort of be a redheaded stepchild to the United States. In other words, that the American foreign policy would be better towards Israel if it was not sort of, to some extent, a client state dependent on the largesse of our weapons industry and manufacturing purposes. I mean, personally, I'm all for being able to sell weapons to our allies. I think that's wise and probably in our best national defense. Sell them, not give them, of course. But I wonder what your thought is in regards to the role of foreign policy of the United States government towards Israel and how that has contributed towards that antipathy that young people have towards Israel. In other words, is the strategy of supporting Israel backfiring and creating more antipathy towards Israel than may have existed if there weren't that sort of client state sort of arrangement to some degree?
Maybe to some degree. However, I don't believe that that is the main source of opposition to Israel, regardless of what of how sometimes the people opposed to Israel frame it. And I'm all for, and Netanyahu said that he wants to zero out American aid. Israel is no longer a developing country. Maybe something like that was necessary in, well, not maybe, it was necessary in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, when Israel was fighting major wars against its neighbors. Right now, Israel can easily pay for whatever weaponry it buys here without getting our loans or anything like that. So, or maybe not easily, but it can pay. I mean, it's a big sum of money. It's a big chunk of money.
One of the I think a lot of people would absolutely be on board with something like that, and I actually think it would decrease some of the antipathy. It's definitely not all of it, but in regards to another source of angst or antipathy that many of the young people on the right have towards Israel is the Israeli lobby and the AIPAC lobby here in the United States. Obviously, allegations go all the way up to Henry Ford levels of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion levels of conspiracy. But some of the concerns, I think, are actually grounded in, I think, a level of truth in regards to the power of this lobby and the influence that it has on American politicians. And I would think anyone who was America first would say to themselves that, the interests of the United States and Israel, I think even Richard Nixon said this, that the interests of the United States and Israel not always align, and American politicians should seek to benefit the United States, even if that does come at the expense of Israel. Is that not a fair and reasonable view?
That's a fair and reasonable view, but on the other hand, IPAC is actually an American organization of Americans who want closer ties with Israel. There are foreign lobbyists that are way more active, like Qatar or China.
Completely agree.
It's not just that our interests with them don't always align. They usually don't align. However, I think the main source of antipathy comes from propaganda, which we're seeing a lot on the left and the right, and looking at the recent New York Times cover, which showed a famished child in the arms of her mother. However, they cropped out the perfectly plump sibling who was who was in that photo shoot as well. So it's and New York Times later kind of almost apologized for it, but we're dealing with a child with cerebral palsy, unfortunately. I recently had a piece about the 8 biggest hoaxes of the Gaza war, and that was one of them. So things like that, the steady flow of propaganda like that, of course, is going to have some effect, unfortunately. But I can totally see why Israel needs to zero out its credit card here. But at the same time, Israel needs to be better at PR war. Well.
I think so. I'm kind of shocked, to put it in a humorous way. If Jews control Hollywood, the PR that they're doing, the commercials and the advertisements for Israel, certainly not, they're not living up to the conspiracy theories of ultimate power and control, because if Jews control the media, they're doing a terrible job at so far in the United States. The propaganda war is effectively being fought by Israel's enemies, by countries like Qatar, countries like Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Lebanon and Syria, and Israel's enemies are far more effective at getting out an anti-Israel and anti-Jewish message. Russia, very effective at propagandizing here in the United States, even having ties to American influencers, transferring sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to American right-wing influencers to amplify Russian propaganda here in the United States. Quite revealing, but not anything really to be underestimated. You can't underestimate America's enemies. And my argument, Katya, is that I think some of the antipathy towards Israel and the Jews largely in the United States has a lot to do with with sleeping under the cloak of the nuclear protection. The foreign policy of the United States in being so defensive and so capable of protecting American citizens has led many, even on the right in the United States, but mostly on the left, And many libertarians, of whom I know, that are well-meaning but misguided when it comes to Israel and foreign policy in the Middle East, they don't see what Javier Milei of Argentina sees when it comes to the power differentials between United States and Israel and their enemies, because the truth is that many Americans, especially those who lean leftist or socialist or communist, they sleep under the protection of the American military. They sleep under the protection of communism, and they don't recognize the power of the foreign policy which protects their lives and their freedom and their speech, which gives them the ability to have these opinions, these stupid opinions, many of them, towards Israel and the Jews. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment. And actually, even in Israel itself, there is a division, or at least there was a division prior to October 7, between people who lived on the boundaries of the country and Tel Aviv, which was always happy and relatively protected. So I think it's a natural human tendency to take security for granted.
No, it certainly is. I mean, I speak to so many people who, I mean, foreign policy is a very intense and very complicated subject. It's like, it's the astronomy of politics to some extent. It involves a lot of math and a lot of moving pieces. And so, you know, if you don't even understand basic physics, then forget astronomy. But when it comes to the question of Israel and the United States, one of the things that also I think causes the development of antipathy is the government resistance to things like boycotts. And recently we're having a conversation in the United States about boycotts towards Israel. Some of this by actual states, some of it by individuals. So would you talk to us a little bit now about your feelings about how the American government, and specifically Donald Trump, is responding to boycotts? Positive, negative? If so, why? If not, why not? Why not?
Well, yesterday, I think the news was that some of the FEMA funds would be withdrawn if a state or local government engages in boycott, divest sanction movement, which seeks to boycott Israel. And I find it, later the DHS changed the policy, which I think personally is unfortunate. It was rolled into the anti-DEI measures, and part of it was coalition politics, of course, because Jewish people wanted to see some kind of opposition to BDS. I feel like it's fair to ask for something like that. Moreover, there's why would we want to boycott a major trade partner like Israel, and also an ally that shares intelligence information with us and so on. And moreover, I think Dave Raboy had a very interesting thought about it yesterday. He said, well, it's state and local governments intervening with our foreign policy, and foreign policy is presidential prerogative. So it's actually reasonable to see president reprimand local and state governments in some ways because they're encroaching into his territory. I find it analogous to sanctuary states and sanctuary localities being punished by withdrawing money, forcing them to roll back to federal law.
It's an interesting take, and one that I can definitely see from a legal perspective. I sometimes see many of the policies that are advanced to try and protect Israel's interests in the Israeli people as working counter to those interests oftentimes, and I'm glad that we can actually have an open dialogue about it. I come from the libertarian movement here in the United States, and the American libertarian movement is, I would say, consumed with what I would call Israel derangement syndrome. In other words, they look at Israel the same way leftists look at Trump. They're unable to be even-handed. They're unable to be honest because they are so biased. But my argument, of course, being in the liberty movement for 20 years, is that the conspiracy theories are so powerful and so intoxicating that they bewitched the generations of American thinkers that would have otherwise been diverted to more useful pursuits such as economics or domestic policy, when foreign policy was always out of their hands. And of the libertarians in the world, Katya, who are ideologically like-minded like myself, of those who actually have power, of those who actually have to make foreign policy decisions, Javier Milei of Argentina, he is very strongly a pro-Israel and a pro-U.S. anarcho-capitalist. Katya, this is a great conversation, and I'm thankful that you would join us so early on the Wake Up America show. Thank you for being so generous with your time. Would you please share with us anything else that you think that our audience should know, or if there's something perhaps you'd like to plug or a Substack you'd like us to follow, feel free.
Oh, yeah. You can follow me on Twitter X at Katya Sedgwick, Katyaseg.
Yeah, we've got it pulled up on the screen there. You can see how to spell her last name. Make sure you spell that one correctly. Write it down.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And and I also blog for Legal Insurrection.
You upload for Legal Insurrection. Her name's Katya Sedgwick. She lives in California, and she is, you can follow her over on X at Katya Sedgwick. And as you can see, her name spelled right there below her lovely face this morning. Katya, thank you for your time. We're so grateful that you would join us and being so generous with your time. We look forward to reading your Substack and hopefully having you back one day.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
It isn't a question whether I felt it. The fact is that American Jews support Israel. And I understood that. And the fact is that every Jewish prime minister that I have known has enlisted American Jews to bring as much pressure as possible in the political process on American presidents. That's understandable. I don't object to it. Now, a president must not go along with it on occasion, because let me explain something about what is called the Jewish lobby in this country. In the first place, Jews, understandably in the United States, because of what happened in World War II, because of the Holocaust, are going to put first priority on the survival of Israel. Now, as good Americans as they are, they believe that America's survival and security is directly related to Israel's. In other words, their belief is that being for Israel first means that does not mean you're putting America second, because they think it goes together. An American president, however, has to approach it in a different way, in my opinion. He's got always to think first of what is best for America, and that's true whether it has to do with the Israelis or whether it has to do with the Irish or the Germans or what have you, or the Poles, etc. Usually what is best for America is also best for Israel and vice versa. But on occasions, for example, an American president must make a decision that does not in effect give the Israelis a blank check. And one example of that is a decision that I made. I decided early on in our administration that we were going to seek good relations with Egypt and others of Israel's neighbors. Many of my Israeli friends didn't like that because they wanted a special relationship with Israel and Israel only. But I have always said that Israel's interests are better served to have the United States a friend of Israel's neighbors and potential enemies than to leave a vacuum which the Soviet Union would fill. I still believe that, and I think that should be American policy today.
How many other wake-up shows that you watch in the morning are going to have high-level discussion on Israel-U.S. policies, ask the tough questions of an American Zionist like I did on our show just a few minutes ago, and then play a nice, full, thoughtful discussion of Richard Nixon and his foreign policy genius, breaking it down? Are you now smarter for having watched the Wake Up America show this morning? Yes. And you're about to get even smarter as we finish with our bonus content. You guys love it. The Defense Against the Dark Arts class. Thank you for unlocking it. Option B, the Obedience Hex. Why the left? Why authoritarians of all stripe, left or right, want you docile, distracted, and dependent. All right, class, let's go. Time to sharpen your minds. Let's grab your wands. Today's spell is deadly. Not because it causes chaos, but because it causes calm, false calm. It doesn't scream, it soothes. It doesn't grab your throat, it wraps your mind in a warm, wet blanket of slogans. This is the obedience hex, and it's been cast on the West for decades. Here's how it begins. Don't think. Have a beer. Don't question. Look at boobs. We've got this handled. Head to the Cole County Fair or go to the Missouri State Fair and check out Camellia Peterson's can. Just kidding. Whether it's pandemic mandates or ESG scores from social credit systems to we're all in this together campaigns, the hex trains you to submit for the greater good without ever defining the good. Let's walk through the 4 phases of the obedience hex. Phase 1, fear first. They need a crisis, a virus, perfectly good crisis, a war, economic collapse, right? Fear cracks the door. It opens up the safe to get into the meat of your thoughts. Fear justifies the temporary measures that somehow become permanent. We have a crisis. We need to have some temporary control handed over to the higher ups. We need your local health authorities to decide who can have a party and how and of what size. Phase 2, expert worship. You're not a scientist. You don't get to have an opinion on this, right? Trust the data, trust the science. Remember, follow the models, right? But then the data shifts. Right? The models fail. The experts contradict each other, right? And by the time they admit that they were wrong, you have already complied. Phase 3, reward the rule followers, right? This is where the hex really spins in, really gets in deep. You start to feel good for doing what you're told. You get perks. You get blue check marks. You get social praise. You get a sticker on your shirt. I voted. But what do the dissenters get? What do the people who choose to disobey get? They get deplatformed, debanked, they get dismissed. And then the crowd cheers because the hex tells them that obedience is moral. Phase 4, distraction and dependency. You're now trained to obey, but also too distracted to care, right? They fill your feed with celebrity gossip, junk food, mindless content. Watch the denim jeans commercial. Meanwhile, your bills are being subsidized. That's weird. Your job is being automated. That's scary. And your speech is filtered. You're not free. You're being managed. But here's the sinister brilliance of the obedience hex, right? It convinces the victim to cast it on themselves. It weaponizes your good intentions against your true freedom. The strongest example is modern democracy itself. They tell you to vote, but only for pre-approved candidates. Republican Party Missouri says, yeah, you can vote, but you have to vote for Josh Hawley. They tell you to express yourself, but only in ways that doesn't offend the algorithm. Right? They tell you to be informed, but only by corporate fact checkers. If you break the algorithms and you say things that shouldn't be said to mass amounts of people and mass amounts of people responding to what you're saying, and the elites don't like it, Avada Kedavra, you're dead. Right? This isn't freedom. It's a digital dictatorship wearing Birkenstocks. So, how do you fight back? This is defense against the dark arts after all. I am your teacher, Severus Snape. 3 tools to break the obedience hex. Number 1, an iron will of skepticism. You see this with me. Don't just question authority, question their motives. How dare you question my motives? You damn right. Question their motives. Who profits when you stay quiet? Number 2, disobedience with dignity. Civil, peaceful, principled, but loud. Non-compliance isn't a tantrum, all right? It's a virtue. Number 3, inner sovereignty. Know who you are. Know what you believe. Know not just what you are against, but also know what you stand for. If your conscience isn't for sale, then nobody's going to come around buying it. Move on. Stop slinging that bullshit. And I won't be buying it today. The goal of the obedience hex is simple. to make you safe but silent, fat but afraid, connected but completely controlled. But you're not some muggle in their technocratic theme park. You're a free citizen, a sovereign soul, a viewer of the Wake Up America show. And if they demand you kneel, what do? Stand taller, right? Hell yes. Let them tremble. Thank you very much. I hope that you guys are enjoying the new wave, the new phase of the bonus content. Phase 2, Defense Against the Dark Arts. You guys like that? I think, looks like Arvold did. He's like, you're right, it is a spell. If you want to learn how to cast powerful spells in defense of your liberty and the liberty of others, then stay tuned to the Wake Up America show, guys. 5 days a week. We got a whole network going on over here. It's me, it's Daniela, it's Brian Piotr, it's the king of all libertarians. We are a scrappy liberty network fighting for freedom, fighting against the dark arts. This has been your Defense Against the Dark Arts class. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. Click the like button if you haven't already. Follow as well. Looks like I'm going to need to upgrade the Defense Against the Dark Arts class this week. Great. Just want to need more work on my plate. Keep an eye out for the upcoming book, Grover, the Nope President. Teach your kids about one of the greatest presidents in American history that nobody knows about, nobody talks about, the only other president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, Grover Cleveland. Introduce your kids to these ideas. This book is going to be coming in a matter of hours, maybe. But if not, then maybe days. But then after that, lots more to come from the For Liberty Network. We're always cooking over here, guys. Isn't it fun? Is it a good time? Don't you love me? Well, then exit to the Grift Shop. Visit the Grift Shop. Get yourself a camo coin, Bitcoin cap over at the Liberty Shop. If you go to the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com, you'll find our camo coin Bitcoin hat. It's embroidered. Dang it. It's got a cute little Bitcoin on that. Check it out. The Liberty Shop is at forlibertyshop.com. That camo coin cap, Bitcoin camouflage trucker hat, comes in 3 colors as long as it's camouflage. Camo black, camo brown, and camo olive. Guys, come on. Richard Nixon, Henry Ford, Katja Sedgwick, Camellia Peterson, Remzo Martinez. You know, look at me over here working my butt off. Head over there to the shop, do a little shopping. Get yourself something real nice, Cousin Eddie. And we'll see you tomorrow right back again here on the Wake Up America show with Judge Napolitano. That's right. It's all rise. Camato, says John Rail. Get out of here. Go home. Enjoy the bonus content, guys. I'm playing it now. It's like 10 minutes long. You're so spoiled.
Are you feeling bad, sad, lonely, despondent about your life, anxious about politics, angry about the state of the world? The gurus and influencers and deep thinkers of the internet have identified the culprit, the reason, the overarching explanation for why everything everywhere sucks all the time. Do you feel horrible? That's capitalism, baby, says the wildly popular mental health influencer Therapy Jeff in a TikTok with nearly 50,000 likes. Is your self-worth based on who you are or what you do? If it's what you do and the value you create, that's internalized capitalism. In another video on the platform, 2 attractive 20-something women discuss how late-stage capitalism has affected their social lives and complain that there's a lack of public, third spaces. The video was filmed in what appears to be a public park. In another video, this time with over 14,500 likes, a young woman declares that capitalism is the root of all evil, before adding, "I'm also a business owner, but fuck capitalism, right?" Do you feel horrible? That's capitalism, baby. Online, capitalism has become a shorthand for just about every disliked cultural trend, no matter how universal or eternal. Unrealistic beauty standards? Capitalism. Monogamy? Capitalism. People not wanting to give you a ride to the airport? Capitalism. Capitalism gets conflated with everything from consumerism and government corruption to the concept of work itself. Online anti-capitalism is not so much a reaction against economic reality as a reaction against, well, reality. It's the all-purpose villain ruining everything that should be good about modern life. If for my friend and yours seeing this, let's be radical anti-capitalists together while you drive me home from LAX. Hatred of capitalism has coincided with a boom in popularity for socialism and even communism. In a recent Pew poll, only 40% of 18 to 29-year-olds had a positive view of capitalism, while 44% viewed socialism positively. In another poll, 34% of young people reported a favorable view of communism, which in Joseph Stalin's Soviet Union killed millions of people from famine alone. This sort of thinking has already had real-world political consequences. In June, self-identified socialist Zohran Mamdani handily won New York City's Democratic mayoral primary on a platform of state-run grocery stores and a rent freeze. Some polls now indicate he's the front-runner for the city's top elected office. It's hard not to read this shift as downstream of a real malaise among many Americans, especially young adults. Surveys consistently find that young people feel lost and forgotten. They're having a hard time finding jobs they like and friends they can count on. Young Americans frequently feel that the system simply isn't working, and so they blame that system for their fears, frustrations, and anxieties. But capitalism isn't the reason why you or anyone else is unhappy. Blaming capitalism is a fantasy, a rhetorical escape that allows people to shift the blame from their own choices to a powerful external force outside their control. The capitalist blame game is a social media-friendly cover for a lack of personal meaning and social connection, a crutch for those who have not made their lives their own. By arguing that capitalism is the cause of your dissatisfaction, you deny your own agency. Your problems become both unsolvable and someone else's fault. And if your problems are intractable and insurmountable, you no longer have a duty to try to overcome them. This lack of agency is comforting, but only leads to more unhappiness in the long term. The solution is not to blame capitalism or any other shadowy conspiratorial force for your problems, but to accept that you're in the driver's seat of your own life. There's no way that you're going to tell me I'm going to work my whole life, says one 20-something travel influencer in a nearly manic viral video. I'm going to sit behind a fucking desk and work 9 to 5 each day of my life until retirement. There is no way that is what life is about. I want to have fun. Like, I actually want to have fun, and I don't understand why this is the norm and we're putting up with this. In another popular video, a young woman films herself lip-syncing from her cubicle with the caption, "When I tell my parents I'm sick of working and they say some dumb shit like, 'Welcome to adulthood,' or 'You're just getting started,' like, bro, I genuinely have nightmares about having to work for the next 60 years. In the comments, it's actually very upsetting. I cry-abe at this all the time, and like y'all knew how much it sucked and y'all still had me, have more than 2,000 and 1,000 likes respectively." In the discourse of internet anti-capitalism, this feeling that adulthood should somehow just be more fun comes up time and time again. It's often paired with a general aversion to having a standard 9-to-5 job at all, even one that pays well. So it's no wonder that many young people seem to share a politically left-leaning sense that just about anything is better than the American middle-class standard, whether that's Europe, communist Cuba, or even prehistoric hunter-gatherer tribes. You might remind one of these creators that Spain's youth unemployment rate is over 25%, that 10% of Cuba's population fled the country in 2022-2023, and that Stone Age life was no love fest, but you probably won't convince them to extol the virtues of free markets and the dramatic reduction in poverty wrought by global capitalism. And that's because this kind of anti-capitalism is fundamentally an escapist fantasy. It's a form of utopian thinking that irrationally assumes capitalism is the only thing standing between you and a life without real problems. You can find utopian anti-capitalism on the far right as well. Instead of dreaming of a world without work or consumerism, right-wing trad bros fantasize about a past when women were financially dependent on men, and immigrants didn't compete with native-born Americans for jobs. On the left, though, a world without capitalism is often imagined as a world without responsibilities of any kind. This view is laid bare in one viral 18-second TikTok in which a young woman creates a mock dialogue between humans and capitalism. "Can I please just get paid to make videos and do art? What do you dream of doing?" Capitalism asks. To which humans reply that they really like just hanging out. For a punchline, an exasperated capitalism huffs, "We can't exploit you off that, pick something else." Yet a world in which everyone can just hang out instead of working is a totally unworkable plan for human society. To believe capitalism is the only thing holding us back from endless leisure is to suggest that food and clothes can grow and sow themselves, and that you've forgotten that the automation we do have in those industries is itself an outgrowth of capitalist industrialization. It's the kind of magical thinking that, as one band of online communists made clear in an infamous 2020 Twitter thread, assumes that everyone on the commune gets to brew lattes and write poetry while no one has to scrub latrines or dig ditches. The obvious problem with this utopian anti-workism is that work, especially of the grueling and miserable kind, has always been a part of human life. Capitalist exploitation is not the only reason why human beings engage in labor. In fact, it is only in the modern capitalist world that any significant portion of the population has labored with their minds rather than their bodies. Under every economic arrangement, in every point in history, human beings have had to earn their keep, whether that's in an office, in the fields, or in the home. The only people who could be convincingly described as living in comfort while not working are the absurdly wealthy, and leftists presumably believe that no one should be that rich. It's easy to call these utopian anti-capitalists lazy, and there may be some laziness there, especially on the more extreme fringes of the online anti-work movement. But what's going on here is less an abundance of laziness than a lack of something to make work seem worth it. It's a lack of meaning, of purpose. Part of this comes down to the assumption that your job will be a major source of meaning and fulfillment in your life. What Atlantic writer Derek Thompson calls workism. In one 2023 survey, 88% of parents believed it is very important for their kids to have a career they enjoy, but just 21% said it is very important that their kids get married. A similar proportion thought it's very important that their kids have children of their own. Teenagers agreed. 95% said that having a career they enjoy as an adult is very important to them, and only around half placed the same importance on getting married. But according to the University of Virginia sociologist Brad Wilcox, being very satisfied with your job increases your chances of being very happy with your life by 145%. Being very happy in your marriage increases your chances of general happiness by a staggering 545%. This gulf isn't exactly surprising. Most jobs, even most elite college-level jobs, are not particularly interesting or intrinsically fulfilling. Even the best jobs, perhaps including the one that allows me to write this essay, aren't likely to provide the sense of contentment and joy that a good marriage does. The message that you can reliably expect happiness and meaning from your job sets young people up for disappointment and incentivizes them to deprioritize the interpersonal connections that are much more likely to lead to fulfillment. It's no secret that young Americans are delaying family formation. Lyman Stone, a researcher at the Institute for Family Studies, has argued that under present trends, 1 in 3 young people who are 19 or 20 today will have not married by 45. Around the same percentage of Gen Zers and millennials say they neither have nor want kids. And young people aren't replacing family responsibilities with rich friendships. A 2023 poll found that 1 in 4 Americans aged 18 to 29 reported experiencing loneliness the day prior, 7 percentage points higher than the adult average. In-person socializing is plummeting too. America is in a party deficit, Atlantic writer Ellen Cushing put it in an article aptly titled, "Americans Need to Party More." Only 4.1% of Americans attended or hosted a social event on an average weekend or holiday in 2023, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is a 35% decrease since 2004, she wrote. Compared with just a few decades ago, we're in a world where the median 20-something has fewer reasons to leave their house, fewer parties to go to, fewer friends, and fewer opportunities to meet a romantic partner. In such a world, no wonder so many young people are looking to their jobs to make them happy, and feeling cheated when they don't. Sometimes internet anti-capitalists identify workism as a problem, but they blame it on the economic system that makes their work possible, not an optional social attitude toward work. The rise of workism is best explained not by capitalism, but by a decline in social connections outside of work. When your job feels tedious or physically taxing, knowing that there's someone you're doing it all for will inherently add meaning to the monotony. It helps to feel like you're working for something other than yourself, whether that's to support a family or a spouse, or even to fund outings with friends. It is a fact of life that we must work, but you're unlikely to be happy if you don't have anything going on when you clock out. Conversely, having something going on in your life besides your job also staves off the worst kinds of workaholism. If you find meaning through your friends, family, or religious community, working yourself ragged for that promotion or following a prestigious career path you hate feels less crucial for maintaining your self-worth. I do think the internet anti-capitalists are right about one thing. Compared to what came before, societies with freer markets tend to rely more on merit-based distribution of social advancement. Where you end up in life is, imperfectly, downstream of your own choices and talents. I want to stress imperfectly. Of course, all kinds of unfair inequalities exist that lead individuals to be born with radically different opportunities. The good news is that never before in human history has a person born into poverty had more opportunity to escape it. It's the essence of the American dream, that no matter the circumstances of your birth, anyone can make it big with enough determination and talent. At the same time, in the grand sweep of human history, never before have those born into wealth had to fight harder to keep their privileges. Just because these opportunities for advancement exist does not mean that enough people are taking them, or that economic mobility is on some forever upward march. But that may be part of the problem. So much agency is destabilizing. It's a tremendous responsibility. It's also the source of tremendous shame, especially for the downwardly mobile children of the upper middle class, who seem most likely to adopt this resentment-driven, muddled anti-capitalism. If you failed to achieve your dreams, if your adult life is boring and predictable, especially if you grew up in economic privilege, your own choices are at least partially responsible. But facing your own inadequacy or lack of ambition is extremely difficult. Blaming an amorphous supposed social evil is much easier. Many anti-capitalists will bristle at this framing. Capitalism, they'll argue, really is that big and monstrous. It's a system that's tilted toward the rich and powerful, that compels people to work in horrible, exploitative jobs, that keeps people from being able to afford a home or health care. Most of these complaints come down to confusing the state of American politics with capitalism. Crony capitalism isn't free markets. Neither is the overregulation that makes housing and healthcare much more expensive than they would be in a true free market system. But internet anti-capitalists rarely make cogent economic arguments. What they're suffering from is not the competitive economic individualism of capitalism, but a kind of interpersonal hyper-individualism. The cynical complacency they're sensing is not about monetary resources, but emotional resources. The fantasy of internet anti-capitalists is much sadder than it seems on its face. It is essentially a fantasy of being happy, of liking your job, of having friends to hang out with after work, of maybe even having a partner to come home to at night. Capitalism is not what keeps people from obtaining these goods. Working for money rather than living on a utopian commune does not keep you from finding a community. Capitalism doesn't stop you from volunteering after work, or attending a religious service, or asking out that nice girl across the bar. It also doesn't stop you from saying yes to that party invite or the suggestion that you join the local adult kickball league. What does keep people from finding community and joy? Bad luck, of course, but also risk aversion and fear of rejection. Building a fulfilling life requires effort and risk. It's hard to show up to a party where you don't know anyone. It can be awkward to make small talk with strangers or start a new hobby. Adult sports leagues and run clubs and church groups are usually pretty dorky. It's easier to blame your isolation, your brittle friendships, your romantic difficulties on a shadowy force beyond your control. Coming to terms with your own agency, with the choices afforded you by our big, beautiful modern world, that's the hard part.